How do you do? It's me, Stefan Burchard, the Desert Bowtie Realtor, with your latest episode of Networking Nuggets. Networking Nuggets is an exploration of business building through networking, social connections, and digital media. The purpose is to build trust, grow our business, increase referrals, and build testimonials. Today, we are also live on Facebook Land. Hello, Facebook Land. This is my friend, Kevin Rotenberry. He is with Padgett Business Services. Would you like to say hello to the audience and give yourself a brief introduction?
Hello, everybody out there. I'm Kevin Rotenberry, Padgett Business Services, the CPA, over 30 years of experience. Padgett is a franchise that specializes in small business owners, helping them manage their business and their personal lives. It allows business owners to run their businesses, but let someone else manage the financial world. So we try to be the CFO for small business owners that can't afford to have a full-time staff member.
Wow, I love that. Thank you. It makes it very attractive for me anyway. I definitely use Kevin's services. Anyway, for those of you that don't know, we have 5 very simple questions. I ask everybody the same question. So Kevin's a little nervous, so we're going to walk him through this. Anyway, Kevin, networking. A lot of people out there have a lot of different ideas about what networking is, but I like to always ask about venues. You know, where do you network? Are there anything that we don't think of?
Well, I'm a little introverted, so I don't like the formal settings when you're sitting down and you're going to these mixers and network structures. I do most of my networking in social aspects. So I belong to a softball league. I belong to a bowling league. I do belong to BNI, which is a formal structure, which is good for me as someone that's introverted, because that structure, I know what to expect and I can prepare for it. Where if it's kind of on the fly with a mixer, you never know what's going to happen, and I feel unprepared, and I'm just not comfortable in those situations. So I do like structure, and then I just like the social aspects. And you just more you interact with people, then they get to know you better and they trust you, and then they start asking questions. Mm-hmm. I never push myself on anybody to use my services. I figure if they have a need, they'll come to me. Mm-hmm. And so I just kind of let it grow organically.
Awesome. That actually kind of segues into our next item, which is materials of preparation. So you talked about BNI being the structure for you. Do you find that having that structure actually helps you with your networking, like in these social circles?
Absolutely, because I've already got my elevator speech developed. BNI is really good about every week you have to stand up, introduce yourself, tell the group who you are, what you want. And so by having that kind of developed and kind of ingrained in your head, whenever you're talking with somebody, it rolls right off your tongue pretty easily, because you've done it every week. So I highly recommend BNI for anybody that just wants to get their business off the ground and kind of learn how to market yourself, because especially accountants are not known to be marketing and sales people. So anything we can do to get some education and guidance, that's good.
That's one of the things I respect about you, is that you actually take the time to network.
Yes.
Because there's so many professionals, no offense to you guys out there, but like lawyers and general contractors, and they're just, I'm just too busy. And you're one of those few people that's like, hey, this 90 minutes is sacred to me. Unless you're pressed up against the wall with deadlines, you're always there, even during tax time. So I would say you really see the value.
Well, absolutely. I see the value, and it's also, people see your interaction. And if you don't show that you have the ability to keep appointments to the BNI meetings, then what are you going to do with your other appointments with them? So it all just gives you credence and helps you build credibility with individuals.
I never thought of it that way. That's actually really, that's an interesting way to think about it. Any other kind of material or preparation that you can think of that you?
Well, of course, BNI has certain things that you're doing. So I've already prepped those things for myself, and because I've been in BNI for 7 years, I think now.
Long time.
I've kind of learned what I need. So I don't do a lot of weekly prep now. It's kind of off my cuff, but because I've done so much in the past, it's a lot easier for me.
Do you find in the social environments that you network, basically softball and bowling, and I'm sure you do others, has the materials that you picked up from BNI and other networking, has that led into conversations you have with people and built a possibility of business, or actually created business?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm always trying to push people in to come check BNI out. I always tell them that if they ever need a referral source, to come to me. And that just, again, that makes people want to use you and trust you, that you can actually give them solid referrals, and they trust everything that you say about it. You just build your credibility up. And an accountant, that's important.
Yeah, and you notice he keeps using that C word, credibility. So I love that concept that people don't, I don't know who said this, but I've heard it a million times. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So
Exactly.
I really feel that credibility. First, it's the personal connection, and then the knowledge comes next. But people want to know that there's a connection first before they're going to step over into that.
Yeah, my very first few the first few interactions with clients, they're always very skeptical about what I'm telling them, and some of them don't even believe it for like a year or two. Like I'll try to get somebody to convert it over to an S corp, and like, no, I'm just going to say a sole proprietorship. And so we do that for a year or two until they see their taxes, and then when we finally switch over to the S corp, they say, now I see what you're talking about, and I just thought you were trying to drum up work for yourself. And I was like, well, no, that kind of happens, but that's not the reason I'm doing it. My clients are always first. I always do what's most important for them first.
Anything you say, any comments about education or inspiration, things you do to feed you, that keep you going?
Well, I think education is very important. I'm just not a student, so I get my lessons from the hard knocks of life.
Oh, wow.
And mistakes that I've made over the years. I don't enjoy school. I don't enjoy webinars and sitting through classes. So I know it's important, but it's just not something that I enjoy. So I don't know what to say more than that. I encourage anybody to go do it, all the education they can get. But I have found my best education has come just from experience. Yeah.
That actually leads perfectly into our next question, which is, can you think of a mistake or a funny, amusing story where you learned something about networking?
Well, a funny story about networking. I would say just don't make assumptions. Sometimes you'll meet people, especially here in Palm Springs, and they'll be talking about their partner, and they're not necessarily talking about their business partner. Sometimes they're talking about their life partner, and vice versa. Sometimes they're talking about their life partner, and you think it's, Joe is my life partner, but Joe is not really their business partner or their life partner. They're their business partner. So just don't make assumptions.
Have you ever run into that embarrassing situation where you're talking to a dude that's like really flamboyant, and in your head you're going queer, 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 and then they start talking about their wife?
Exactly. I just had that experience last week. Someone on our softball team.
Oh my God.
He came, and,
Really?
and it's a gay softball league that I'm on, and it's a new player, and he came to our first practice, and I'm like, okay, well, this guy's super gay. And the next thing, a couple days later, someone said, oh, him and his wife are going to Toucans for a drag show. I was like, and wife? Like, what are you talking about? So yeah, that happens all the time.
Never assume.
Yeah.
I really like that. Thank you. Can you think of anything you learned in a networking environment, something that kind of surprised you, like, wow, I never thought about that?
I don't do, like, again, I don't do a lot of networking environments other than BNI.
Anything in like your bowling or softball where you had an interaction with somebody and all of a sudden it was like, wow, I never thought of that. That could actually apply.
Well, I will say that you should, again, shouldn't make assumptions about anybody, because sometimes the person that you think is just not going to be a good client turns out to be a great client. I had someone call me off of a Yelp advertising, and they wanted me to prepare their tax return, and I discouraged her like 20 times. Like, I'm not the right fit. You can't afford me. And then she came in, and all of a sudden she's got a business that she's starting up, and she's doing all these other things. So you just can't assume anything about anybody. You just got to hear all the whole story out.
Wow, cool. Do you have anything that you'd like to add to the conversation? Anything that perhaps I haven't covered here today?
Stefan, you always cover everything. I don't know that I could add anything down beyond what you already know and have said.
Well, for me, this isn't necessarily about knowing stuff. This is about sharing. So that's why I love this Networking Nuggets, because I'm not the only networker in the world. So I learned so much.
You just happen to be the best.
No, well, I enjoy what I do, but like what I've learned with you, what I've really gained from you, from your example, is just like keeping my mouth shut.
And your ears open, right?
Yeah, my ears open and not saying anything. So it's so easy when you're dealing with a room of 35 people, giving up, doing their 45 seconds. And sometimes I want to make comments and want to say things, and I have, and I've embarrassed myself, and I've had to apologize and clean it up. But I've learned to just, the restraint of pen and tongue is one of the things I hear. But That's like one of the things that you've inspired me is to just keep it in and invent it later.
Process the information before you speak, right?
Yeah.
And they said you got 2 ears and 1 mouth, and you should hear twice as much as you speak.
Yeah.
So
use them proportionally.
exactly.
So anyway, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. I appreciate it very much.
Problem.
I hope you out there in Facebook land enjoyed our little thing here. And anyway, that's it for today. Stefan Burchard, the Desert Bowtie Realtor, taking knots out of real estate.
Sure. That's over.